Hello, pen folks. Spencer here, back for pen chat number 10. It's been a couple weeks, not much going on, not really a whole lot to talk about pen wise. But today I'm going to do kind of a fun video and talk about papers. So, fountain pen paper, very important, just as important as the pen and the ink. A good paper or a certain type of paper can take a fine nib to write more like a broad. It can change the character of the ink. It can make a nib that typically has a lot of feedback very smooth, and vice versa. It can show a lot of shading on even like your boring inks or fine nibs. So basically today I'm going to talk about 21 different papers, different types of paper. So basically what I did is I took 21 notebooks and notebook inserts from all different brands and cut them all into A5 sizes. And I'm going to use the same pen and the same ink for all, and I'm just going to do a short writing sample for each one and kind of talk a little bit about what I like about that paper. Paper has so many different qualities, and the main one kind of being GSM, which is the weight of the paper. And all of these different qualities affect the writing experience that you're going to get. So weight of the paper, GSM, it can affect the bleed through, the ghosting. I don't typically care about GSM. There are some low GSM papers that are practically see-through that write fantastic. And have absolutely no bleed and no ghosting. And there's some, thicker copier paper where, it's going to bleed through with a, especially like a saturated or really wet ink. Absorption is another thing that affects kind of the feathering that you get. I guess, higher absorption paper that your ink may spread, and you may get some feathering, kind of sloppy lines. And it also affects the dry time of the ink. And then there's certain paper that is more fibrous than others. So kind of a high fiber count is going to be, maybe a little bit less smooth. You're going to feel feedback. You're going to kind of feel the drag as you write. And then, coated paper, it can really affect the smoothness of the paper and the writing experience. And then, color, there's pure white paper, there's off-white, there's kind of eggshell white, there's cream colored paper, and that's all going to affect the way that your ink looks on the page too. Personally, I don't really care about GSM. I prefer coated paper. I like paper with very low absorption, and I don't care if it takes a little bit longer to dry. I like very white paper because I only use blue inks. Mainly only use blue inks, and I just prefer the smoothness of a nib to feedbacky nibs. I'm a palette guy. What can I say? So yeah, this should be kind of a cool video. Hopefully, it's helpful to see. Like I said, 21 different papers. They're all in order of GSM. So I'm going to start with kind of the higher GSMs, like your Rhodias and your copy paper and bank paper and stuff like that, and like laid paper. And then I'll kind of work down towards like Tomoe River, which is like the lowest kind of thickness paper that I have. So yeah, for all these writing samples, I'm writing samples. Sorry, I'm stuttering because it's freezing out here. I'm going to be using my Pilot Custom Marushi in fine medium, and I'm going to use Robert Oster Evening Sapphire ink. That ink it's pretty wet, great shading. It's a kind of a good test case. I was going to use like a Lamy blue or a Pilot blue, something kind of more standard color, but honestly, with those kind of standard blues, you're not getting a lot of shading, so it's kind of hard to tell just in a video what the difference is on the paper. And hopefully with a Robert Oster ink, you'll be able to see a little bit better. So thanks for watching, and see you shortly. All right, so to start this experiment, I'm going to be using a Pilot Custom Marushi in fine medium, and the ink is Robert Oster Evening Sapphire. So first paper we have here is just your standard copy paper. And I write at an angle. Let's see if I should zoom in a little bit here. Hold on. There we go. So I do write at an angle, so I'll try to keep it straight here. So we've got a lot of feathering, not much shading on this at all. Quite a bit of ghosting. That's the back side. Copy paper, trash. All right, the next one we have Crown Mill laid paper. This is actually a really inexpensive paper. It's good stationery. It's kind of ribbed and textured. It's a cream color. So we don't have much shading on this either. Actually a pretty good amount of feathering. Some ghosting. Granted, there's a light above me, so you're probably it's maybe a little bit more ghosting than it would be, but yeah, there's a good bit of ghosting on here. A little bit of bleed in some spots. I don't really like this paper that much. And it's very feedbacky because it's ribbed and textured. Yeah, I don't really like this. So that goes in the bad category. All right, Rhodia is 90 GSM. Rhodia, can see some shading on this. Little bit of ghosting, not much. This is a 90 GSM paper. I'm not a big fan of Rhodia. I know it's very popular. I personally just don't like it. I don't think it's particularly smooth. It is, I believe it's coated, but it's not not my cup of tea. So that's going to go in the not great category as well. This is Franklin Christoph sugar paper. This is 90 GSM. More shading on this than the Rhodia. This paper, it feels... So I've written with this for a couple days on this paper. It's good scratch paper to me. Hardly any ghosting on this. No bleed at all. It's good paper. It I've had some feathering issues with this, mainly with like my Namiki Emperor. It feathers quite a bit on this paper. But it is good paper, and it's cheap. It's like $9 for 160 pages, A5 size. It comes with, you can also get kind of loose leaf paper, but yeah, it's not bad. I like this. This will go in the good category. All right, Clairefontaine is next. This is what I'm currently using for a bullet journal. I'm not crazy about it. I think it's kind of boring, but we'll see with this ink here. So Clairefontaine, it's very coated. It takes quite a bit of time to dry. Little bit more ghosting than on the sugar paper. No bleed. It's an off-white, like cream color. That may be why I'm not super crazy about it. And also it feels like, to me, your nibs write finer on this paper, which I don't really care for, but it is a good quality paper. You can feel it. You can feel the quality when you're holding it. So I'll put this in the positive category. All right, Midori 88. This is a loose leaf paper that I have. I got it to kind of use for stationery, for like thank you notes and things like that, but the lines are so wide that it just kind of looks weird when you write a note. But so a Midori paper is excellent. It's one of my favorites. It is coated, so it does take a little time to dry, but it is an awesome paper. Pretty smooth, but still has a little bit of feedback to it. I like the color. Good bit of ghosting. No bleed. Yeah, Midori paper is good. I mean, it's pretty standard. It's already drying though, and you do have a good bit of shading. It's a positive. All right, this is Dress Code Cloth. This is from this is a Papermine notebook, and this actually comes in it's a pretty large notebook, but it's the notebook itself is excellent. It's kind of an off-white paper. And this is 87.94 GSM. This is really nice. It's really smooth to the touch. Not much ghosting, no bleed. There is a little what's the word? Like a little print that's on the paper on the back. It says Conqueror, I think. Very faint. But yeah, this is a great paper. The Papermine notebooks are by far my favorite notebook brand. Of course, they source lots of different papers for all their notebooks. So they, it's not like Franklin Christoph that's that's sourcing all their notebooks from one supplier, or I don't know if they make it themselves, but so you can go on the Paper Mine, you can get a lot of different types of paper, but this is a good one. All right, Mitsubishi Bank Paper. This is also a Paper Mine notebook. This is 87.9 GSM. So bank paper is awesome. There's a ton of shading with bank paper. Your nibs run very true to size with bank paper. It's thick. It feels thicker than a lot of these other kind of higher GSM papers for whatever reason. Not much ghosting at all. No bleed. It's just a really good paper. Like I said, you get a lot of shading. I don't know if it'll capture that. I'll try to take some pictures at the end. But yeah, it's an excellent paper. Watermark, that's the word I was looking for. There's also a watermark on this paper, weirdly enough. It says 3 diamonds or something. But yeah, great paper. Really like it. Great notebook as well. All right, this is Kokio Campus paper. This is probably the cheapest besides the copy paper. 85 GSM. So campus paper is really nice. Sorry, hit the camera. I like that they're refillable. You do get a decent amount of shading. There's no bleed, but it's close. You can kind of see little spots where the ink might be wanting to come through. But it is good, cheap paper. It's very good for the office because the notebooks themselves are refillable. So yeah, it's pretty decent. I'm gonna put it in the not my favorite category because I just don't use it very much. It's a little boring, but all right, next one is Passipede Cream. This is also Paper Mine notebook. This is 84.3 GSM. And this is, I think, one of my smoothest papers. So yeah, excellent paper, lots of shading. It is a cream color, so your blues are not really gonna pop quite as much. Almost no ghosting, no bleed. It's a really, really nice paper. These come in an A5 notebook size it's a hardcover notebook. Nice soft exterior on that notebook. It's just a really good paper, really high quality. I wish it was loose leaf so I could use it for stationery, thank you notes, things like that. But yeah, really fun to use, really, really smooth. Writing with like a Pilot A23 medium or like a kind of the fine medium of the Urushi is super smooth, but there's a little bit of, it has a little toothiness to it in a good way, a little bit of feedback. But like if you're using a true medium nib on this paper, it's really, really cool to use. So I like that one. All right, B7 Tranix paper. This is like a kind of a copy of Cosmo Air Light, apparently. This is 83 GSM. So this is my favorite paper. This is the paper I use for fun writing. I use this daily. I've gone through like 5 of these notebooks. It's really fun to use. It's really pretty heavily coated, very smooth to the touch, shows off every ink property. It does take a while to dry, but it is really, really fun to use on a broader nib or with a cool ink. This is my favorite paper. There's a little bit of ghosting on this. If you lay it flat, not quite as bad, but it is excellent paper. I would highly recommend this if you have a lot of cool inks and like sheening inks and big shaders or whatever. It's just it's really fun to use. It's not very absorbent, so it does take some time to dry, but you're just going to see every quality of the ink, every quality of the nib, and it makes every nib write a little bit broader. So you can see the difference between let's find the Rhodia. So between the Rhodia and this, so the B7's on the left, Rhodia's on the right, you can see the difference in the width of your lines, which is just crazy to me. And that's why I said GSM doesn't really matter, because this is 83 GSM 90, not that much of a difference. The thickness of the paper, this feels thicker, like significantly thicker to me in the hand than the Rhodia does. So great paper. All right, the next one is a Pika CD15. You've probably seen these before. They're like, they come in a couple different colors. They're it's thin paper. The notebooks themselves are thin, like 80 sheets or something. They're not very expensive. So this is, yeah, it's an inexpensive paper. There's not a lot of shading with this, but really hardly any ghosting, hardly any bleed through. It's a good quality paper. It's just a little boring. Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. All right, I can never pronounce this, but you've all seen these. These are the black spiral bound notebooks. They come in a lot of different sizes. Some are dot grid, some are lines, some are graph. But this is a Japanese paper. All right, again, very heavily coated, very smooth. almost no ghosting, no bleed. You do get a good bit of shading with this paper. Your nibs are going to run true to size with this. This paper comes in good quantities. I like the layout with the date and the title. It's a good paper. All right, this is Papermine Dandelion paper. This is also pretty textured, ribbed. It's just another laid paper. This is a lower GSM than the other laid paper, but Dandelion paper is, so this one has a lot more shading than the other one. This is much better quality than the Crown Mill laid paper. It is, let's see, yeah, no ghosting, no bleed. Does show shading pretty well, no feathering. It's a good paper. Again, I wish this was loose leaf because I would probably use this as stationery, but it's a nice color. It's lighter than the Crown Mill. The Crown Mill is definitely more yellow. Yeah, it's nice. I don't use this very much. Honestly, I have a whole notebook of it. I don't use it because I like the B7 so much more, but it's good paper. If you like laid paper, I think it's probably the best you can get. Roterfaden. This is from one of their A5 inserts. This is 80 GSM. This paper is not bad. I thought it was going to be a little bit better than it was, but their inserts are not very expensive. Honestly, so at the top I wrote, this is just with a roller ball. There's a little bit of feathering on the roller ball for whatever reason, and no feathering on the fountain pen ink, which is unusual. There's a little bit of ghosting, no bleed. It's fine. Again, it's just kind of boring. You don't really get a whole lot of shading with this at all. It's a little bit off-white. So not crazy about it, but it's a good little insert for my Roterfaden notebook system. All right, this is Leuchtturm 1917, off-white, 80 GSM. I'm sure everyone has used this at some point. I'm actually a big fan of Leuchtturm paper. I think it's really good quality. I think you get a good bit of shading. It's thick. There's almost no ghosting at all. There's no bleed at all. It's just a really good quality paper. I wish it was not off-white. I would use it a lot more, but yeah, I think Leuchtturm, for as popular as they are, they're just kind of a big brand, but they make really good quality paper. All right, we've got 4 more to go. Actually 5, because I forgot to cut one out, but I'll do it on the back of the sheet. All right, this is Irreful 75 GSM. This is the insert I use the most, the A5 insert in my notebook. They're thin and they just have excellent, excellent quality. Yeah, so Earful paper is some of the best. It's probably my second favorite behind the B7. It's cheap. An insert is like 80 pages, so 160 pages front and back, and it's just really good quality. You get a lot of ink properties with this paper. You get a little bit of ghosting, but no bleed. It's very coated. But yeah, just a really great paper to use. One of my favorites. All right. Taroko, let's see. This is the Taroko Enigma 68 GSM notebook. If you follow Mountain of Ink, the blog, I believe this is what she uses in almost all of her ink reviews. This is a really good quality notebook. I got this one on Etsy. I think they have a website now that's not on Etsy, so maybe the shipping time is a little bit better, but let's see. So right off the bat, this turned a fine medium nib into probably a broad. This is a super absorbent paper. The dry time is pretty quick. It's really thin. You know, 68 GSM is kind of getting into the Tomoe River territory, so I believe this is a Tomoe River paper, if I remember correctly. So you are going to get a lot of ghosting with this, but you don't get any bleed. And it shows off ink properties really well. So this one is, like I said, it turns, let me show you the Rhodia again. It kind of turns your, I'm sure you can see that. The writing on the left is so much thicker than on the Rhodia paper. But it's a good paper. It's a good notebook. I like that it's dot grid. This is a cool, just kind of nonsense type notebook. It's a lot of pages. I think it's 192 pages, maybe even more than that, because it is pretty thick. I think it's like 260 actually. But yeah, it's nice. All right. So now we're on the Hobonichi paper. So I'm going to find something to put behind this when I write. So this is 52 GSM. Hobonichi is a pretty popular brand now for like their journals and stuff. I've never used it for that. Like they're kind of themed notebooks that have all the dates and pages, or the dates and days of the week and things like that in here. This is just a standard grid notebook, but it's super thin. It's like Yeah, super thin paper. It almost feels like wax paper to me. But it is really nice to write with. There's no bleed, a lot of ghosting even on the rollerball pen. Yeah, it's good paper. I don't personally like that it's grid. I'm not a big grid paper guy, but I do like this one. It does show off. There's a good bit of shading here. Not quite as much as the Taroko, the Ireful, or the B7 Tranix paper, but it is a good paper. So I'll put this in the pro category as well. Second to last one, we've got Tomoe River 52 GSM. This is a Papermine Tomoe River notebook. So this is another excellent paper. This is a better Tomoe River paper, I think, than the Taroko paper and the Hobonichi. It doesn't feel quite as thin. Your nibs are going to run true to size on this, maybe a little bit wider than normal, but it's not noticeable. This has, quite a bit of ghosting as well, which is it's just going to happen with a paper this thin, but there's no bleed. And yeah, this is an excellent paper. A bit of shading here. All right, last one is going to be Cosmo Air Light. So this is, Cosmo Air Light is, I went out of order on this one because I forgot to cut this one out, but this is a 92 GSM. This is very similar in feel to the B7 Tranix. This from Papermine comes in a kind of perforated ring notebook. So it's pretty cool for stationery because it's just really fun to write with. So yeah, the Cosmo Light is awesome. It's up there on my list with B7 Tranix. I'd say this is probably my second favorite paper. It's very coated, lots of shading on this, almost no bleed at all. I'm not gonna, this is my little cheat sheet on the backside. So yeah, not much ghosting either, no bleed. Yeah, just a really, really great paper. So in summary, I'd say the best ones for me, your mileage may vary because a lot of people like Rhodia and I get why they do, but I just personally don't. But I'd say the best ones are the Tomoe River 52 Papermine notebook. And this is going to sound like a Papermine advertisement, but I mean, he does a really good job. Cosmo Air Light is awesome. The Taroko Enigma is awesome. Just, it's not super practical, but it's fun to use. Ireful is very versatile, very affordable, great paper. Leuchtturm, just a good standard paper that everybody is familiar with. And then I'd say best one, B7 Tranix paper is the best for me. It's a good mix of fun and also fairly practical because it's not going to be as broad as the Taroko Enigma, but it is still, your nibs are going to write a little bit broader. So that's kind of cool if you have a fine nib and you have a cool ink and you want to, show off the properties, but you still like the control of a fine nib and the precision. This is a fun paper to use. These two, Ireful and B7, are my favorites to use. They're the ones I use the most often. Ireful is my everyday for work notes and things like that as an insert. And then B7 is my favorite for just kind of fun writing. When I'm sitting in my chair in the evenings and I just want to write down some nonsense, that's the paper that I use. So what I'll do is I'm going to take a picture of all the kind of shading properties of these, and I'll make like a Google album or something, and I'll post it in the notes because it's hard to see it on camera. So I'll use kind of with some better lighting and do that so you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Certainly enjoyed making it and talking paper. If you have a team in the playoffs this weekend, I hope they win. And unless they're the 49ers. But in other news, I'm going to do a video next week. I have some Conco pens coming from Conco pens in Vietnam. So I'm going to do a review of those when they come in. And then I'm going to do kind of a larger review of my Namiki Emperor and Sailor King of Pen and do a comparison of those two. So till next time, have a good day.